Hello and welcome, dear crypto friends, to this new episode, and let's talk today about what's happening in the crypto market. It's crazy. First Bitcoin goes up, then it goes down again. What the hell is happening? So let's start right away. As always, we start with our good old long-term chart, the weekly chart, Bollinger Bands activated, stochastic RSI activated. And what can we see happening? Well, currently it looks a bit strange, right? I mean, there are these two weekly candles that have been severely pushed down. So if a candle rises strongly and is being pushed down again and rises again and being pushed down again, that usually is not a too good sign, because that happened here, for example, also, or it happened here, or it happened here. So this is mostly a sign of reversal, okay? So here we could see it very nicely, here we could see it very nicely. Here it also happened, here. Okay, so every time we have like a topish formation, we get these kind of like very narrow bars. So a candlestick, how a candlestick works, the candlestick has an open and a close price, and if it goes up again and gets pushed down back again, then we see this very narrow line. So this is how a candlestick works. And this narrow line tells us usually that there's strong resistance, okay? There's very strong resistance. And I've been saying for a while now that I'm more convinced that we will go down. I think we should correct, because it would be healthy for Bitcoin if we have a correction back to the middle Bollinger Band. We can see, for example, here, that was a perfect correction to the middle Bollinger Band, okay? We were rising to 53,000. And then we go back down again to 40,000 and we cool off. The stochastic RSI is cooling off a bit. And also the middle Bollinger Band acts as support. So what's happening now suddenly? So we can see that there's insanely strong resistance here, okay? And what I think will happen, also because we are overbought like crazy, and I've been saying this the last videos already, we are overbought. The stochastic RSI is really high. So we would need to cool off a bit. It would be good if we would cool off, because if we would really continue pumping now, if it continues pumping like this, then the rally would be already over pretty soon. And the sooner the rally is over, the lower the peak. So remember, the longer it needs now, the longer Bitcoin needs to build up momentum, the higher the peak will be. So if Bitcoin pumps too fast now, the peak will be accordingly lower, which of course is not so nice, because we want Bitcoin to go to very high prices. Why? Because if Bitcoin goes to very high prices, then accordingly the altcoin peaks will also be much higher, right? It correlates directly with the peaks of the altcoins. If Bitcoin goes to 300,000, the peak of Ethereum or XRP or the other top market cap cryptocurrencies will be accordingly also twice as high. So we have very good reason to hope that this basically will take a bit longer. And my hope is actually, so I will tell you what I hope will happen. It's not necessarily said that it will happen, but I think the likelihood is quite high, because I still think we have some kind of like formation like here or here. So because these weekly candles don't look too good, and if the weekly candle on Sunday doesn't close much higher than we are now, then I think it's quite likely that something like this will happen. Okay, I will just draw it here. So I think we will get a repeat of this here. So we would go down first, correct downwards, when everyone is expecting that we are going up now, because like everyone is expecting this big push towards the end of the year, right? But what if not? What if it doesn't happen? What if exactly the opposite happens? Because if all people expect one thing, from my experience, it's quite likely that exactly the opposite happens. So now basically we go down first, we would cool off. That would be pretty nice, because the stochastic RSI would also fall and cool off. And then the real rally starts and we will get the top in June 2022. And I said in the video before the last one that the cycles are lengthening, and we actually calculated even how much they are lengthening. So there are two different possibilities. In one picture, it's 159 days more. So every cycle is 159 days longer than the previous one. And in another picture, it's a factor 1.43. So depending on what picture you prefer, we would get the top in March to June 2022. Okay, that is what I think will happen. I'm pretty much alone with that opinion. Everyone thinks we will get like a push towards the end of the year and we will have the top as always, as the last times in December. I think this will not happen. We shall see what will happen, but I think it's more likely that we will get something slightly different, something new. And also another thing that I think speaks towards like the theory that Bitcoin will first dump now a bit back to 50,000 before we start the pump towards the beginning of the new year, is that if we look at the dollar index, it looks pretty insane. If you watch my very first video on this channel, I'm talking about the correlation between the dollar index and Bitcoin, the long-term correlation. And we can see that Bitcoin is strongly inversely correlated to the dollar, right? It makes sense. The Bitcoin dollar pair is the largest pair in the world by trading volume. So of course it makes sense that Bitcoin is inversely correlated to the dollar. So if the dollar pumps, Bitcoin dumps and vice versa. And what we can see now is pretty insane because the dollar is pumping like crazy. So it actually has risen from May 2021. It had a low at 89.5. And we are now already at 95, okay? So that is pretty much a strong pump. And we have been overbought for a long time in the dollar index, a very long time. So it must come down at some point. But as we see, it's still pumping. So it's doing this long-term megaphone structure, this super long megaphone structure here. And we don't know what will happen now. We will see at this resistance, it will soon reach resistance. And if it breaks through the resistance, okay, if this happens, the next resistance is insanely high. It's really at about 97 to 98. It's in this area here, given by this peak here, okay? So basically here we would have the resistance. That is a pretty strong pump, okay? If we pump to such highs, that would be quite brutal for Bitcoin. I can tell you with a high probability that if the dollar index really breaks up above through this megaphone structure, the likelihood that Bitcoin dumps to 50,000, to the middle Bollinger Band area, is very high. Okay, so we will have to see and wait what happens with the dollar index if the dollar index really manages to break through this long-term megaphone pattern here. If it does manage to break through the megaphone pattern, well, then I think we will get this corrective structure here, back to the middle Bollinger Band, then a bit of sideways, and then we begin the next phase of the rally early next year, with the peak in March to June 2022. How high is the peak? Well, I would say between 150,000 and 300,000, okay? We have the long-term channel here. The long-term channel says it will be from 150,000 to 200,000, somewhere in that area. But of course, the Fibonacci extensions, they say more likely that we will go to about 290,000. And also something else, we can see that this resistance here, we almost hit 70,000, right? What is 70,000? Well, if we go to the full Fibonacci extension from the peak to the low here, we have the one extension, and basically we almost hit the one extension. Okay, we went to 69,000 and the one extension is a bit above 70,000. So we have a strong, very strong resistance here. It will be very hard to get through the resistance. And I think in combination with the fact that the dollar is pumping like crazy now, the probability, and remember please, we are talking about probabilities here. I can never give you a guarantee like this is going to happen with 100% probability. It doesn't exist. It doesn't even exist in the universe, you know, quantum mechanics and everything. There are only probabilities. We live in a probabilistic universe. So basically, coins are the absolute manifestation of probabilities. And I can just tell you the probability that we will dump now, in my opinion, is higher than the probability that we will continue pumping. But that doesn't mean that it will necessarily happen that way. I'm just saying, in my feeling, the probability is higher. So that basically would mean also for our altcoins that the coins will be dumping. What are the coins doing? LTC started pumping, which is a very good sign, good old Litecoin. LTC, this is the LTC BTC chart, so the relation of Litecoin to Bitcoin long term. We see that Litecoin is in a descending long-term channel, so LTC BTC is kind of in a descending channel since a very long time. It has been doing lower lows here, But since a while now, it stopped doing lower lows at least, and basically this low was not so much lower than the last one, but the tops are still in decline. So this is like on average a long-term declining channel, but we saw that here suddenly we got this insane spike out of nowhere, which is a very good sign, because if the old altcoins start pumping, this is normally a sign for altcoin season. XRP doesn't do much as always, still nothing much happening. But with XRP BTC, I think we haven't yet talked about the XRP BTC chart. So actually it looks super bullish. Like why is XRP BTC so bullish? Well, because we haven't even really pumped yet. And look at this, how high we are. People tend to forget how high we are in the XRP BTC chart. We are at 1866 Satoshis, okay, 1866 right now. And this is actually higher than we were when we started the rally in 2017. In 2017, the rally started really low. It started at 439 Satoshis, and in 2014 it started also at the same level. So actually long-term XRP is an appreciating asset. We compare it now to LTC, where we said, okay, LTC is a long-term declining asset. Most likely, you know, if we go over long periods of time, we go to XRP and we see that XRP is actually doing higher lows, okay? So it's doing higher lows, it's going upwards, and also not only higher lows, but also higher highs, okay? So here you can see that this XRP BTC is actually higher than this one here. It went a lot higher. It went to 24,700 Satoshis, whereas in 2013 it only reached 11,000, okay? So actually long term, the XRP BTC chart is looking very good, because long term it seems that XRP is gaining as compared to Bitcoin. Of course, sure, it doesn't seem like this right now. I know it doesn't seem like that. Everyone who holds XRP is crying every day. It's clear that it's not so much fun holding it when it doesn't pump like the other coins. But if you just look at it from a long-term perspective, you actually see that XRP is looking pretty strong, and we are now actually higher, much higher, 5 times higher almost than we were when the rally started. The first XRP rally in 2017 started, okay? So now the baseline from where the pump could start is much higher than it was before. Also, this, by the way, ignore this wick here. I think this is an error of Binance or something. So we're looking at the long-term chart here, which is calculated by Binance, and this must be some error, because I clearly remember that it didn't go so low. So I think it went to around 1140 Satoshis, okay? So what happened actually with XRP, it pumped for the first time, then it went super much down again. So while Bitcoin was pumping, XRP BTC went down. So that means that XRP USD was staying constant, and then XRP pumped again. Okay, it pumped again, and then it went down for a very long time, and it didn't go down as much as it used to go down in 2017, which is pretty bullish, okay? Despite the SEC lawsuit, keep that in mind. And now, basically, we are here, and we are at a level. We are at a level that is much higher than the previous levels when we previously started, okay? We are much higher. Look at this. This is basically, if we would start now from here, we are starting from a much higher vantage point. This is like the ramp from where we start is like 4 times higher almost than where we started in 2017. Imagine that, 4 times higher. We are actually here. So we are even higher than XRP BTC was in December 2017, when it dipped as low as 1150 Satoshis. We are actually almost twice as high, not quite, but almost twice as high as in December 2017. And what did it do then? It went from 1150 Satoshi to 23,000 Satoshi. So almost a factor 20 increase, okay? A factor 20 increase in what amount of time? What amount of time? Well, you can see it here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. 5 weeks. In an amount of 5 weeks, this crazy bastard went times 20, okay? And right now, keep in mind, we are a lot higher. XRP BTC is a lot higher than it was in 2017 and 2018. And also, we have to see that XRP is having an insanely brutal bullish divergence. So we can see, let me just delete the stochastic RSI. We don't need it actually. We can see the RSI is actually making higher lows, okay? We are having nice higher lows in the RSI. Historically, it's been doing that since 2019. So since July 2019, the RSI of XRP BTC is making higher lows. And what is XRP doing? Well, at the same time, XRP BTC is declining. Okay, so let's draw that same point where it started, like here, and it actually went down. Okay, so what does that mean? What is that called? An asset is making lower lows, but the RSI is making higher lows. What does that mean? That's correct, friends. That's a bullish divergence. So XRP BTC is actually doing a crazy long-term bullish divergence since over 2 years now. Okay, since over 2 years. Also, strangely, I don't know, no one is talking about it. I don't know why. So XRP BTC doing a super long-term bullish divergence in the RSI, and also is at a much higher point than it was during the start of the last rallies. So you can now make your own calculation what that means. This means, oh, and I forgot that long term it's an increasing asset. So compared to BTC, it's actually appreciating in value. So you can now calculate in your mind what that means. Let us all just calculate. Well, that means that this sucker will go berserk at some point. And if it does, I expect it to actually, I could expect XRP to actually make a new high, okay? Because we are making higher highs. Historically, it has been doing higher highs. So I could actually even imagine XRP going a lot higher and making a new high, okay? It could happen. So we should not count out XRP just because it's not pumping as we would like, because it can just still stay on that level. It can just still stay on that level for a few more months, and then suddenly it does this here in a time span of 2 months. Okay, it could happen, as crazy as it sounds, because the starting point from where this pump would start would be a lot higher than what happened here. Here we started from here, and we started from here, so this was actually lower, quite a lot lower than from where we start now. Okay, that is actually super bullish stuff. So XRP is looking good. We said LTC started pumping, which is also nice. I can easily see LTC going to this resistance line. Then it will be interesting. Will LTC actually manage to break this long-term downtrend? Will LTC manage this? If yes, it would be amazing. I would be cheerful because I like LTC. It's a coin basically I grew up with when I started Bitcoin. When I started with crypto in 2013, LTC was always the biggest coin after Bitcoin. It was always on place 2 coin market cap. So I have a bit of nostalgia for LTC. I also had a lot of LTC 5-6 years ago. So I really have nostalgia for this coin. So I would be super happy if LTC now suddenly breaks through this resistance line and manages to go to old highs. I don't know, here in that somewhere around, somewhere in that area here, you know. It would be really awesome if LTC BTC manages to do that. I would be very cheerful, but it has to still break through this resistance line. However, it's a really nice sign that LTC started pumping. This is a very good sign. If LTC starts pumping and many other old altcoins start pumping, this is a very good sign, because this means that altcoin season, some form of altcoin season might be starting. So we will have to see what Bitcoin is doing, but I think the probability is really high that we will correct first and then have something, as I said, like this here, right? We go down a bit and then we go upwards. In December, January, it starts picking up steam, and then it goes absolutely nuts in the time frame from March to June 2022 at around $300,000. This is my current picture. If it will change, I will tell you. My picture changes sometimes. Nothing is set in stone. It's all probabilities, and we have to stay flexible. We have to adapt. We have to see what is the market doing and readapt our thinking and our strategy according to what the market is doing, because no one knows what will happen. We have just theories. We just think about what could happen, but in reality, no one knows what will happen. This is what makes this game so exciting, right? We will just see what Bitcoin will be doing, and I will keep you updated if this turns into a dump, what will happen long term. But I think this is a very good sign, because we will be cooling off, and that means that the top for Bitcoin will be even higher than we think it will be, and the top for altcoins will also be higher than we dare to imagine. So friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. I wish you a nice day and see you next time.